I'm ready.
Are you, though? Because I have 29 pages of notes. I'm going to be honest. I know
How long did this take you?
hours, like 10 hours. I ended up reading a book written by the detective who solved the case.
A whole book?
Oh, yeah. I know we've blocked out an hour, but I'm going to go with us needing a few more. Do you have any cold dips or anything planned?
We were going to go to IKEA after this.
Right. Well, IKEA's open till 10 p.m, so, but just be prepared because this one, it won't only anger you, it's also then disgusting and awful and we just hate everyone. This is actually the case that was recommended to me by somebody and they recommended it based on one person's name, and then I went down a rabbit hole and realised it is way bigger than this one person. So, hello and welcome to our podcast.
26 to life, where after 26 years of friendship, we have been friends for longer than our life sentence.
So now we're making a podcast together and we are loving doing it. We just get to sit here and tell you true crime stories that the other one hasn't heard and take you along for the ride. I'm Catherine.
I'm Rosie.
And let's go.
Let's do it. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, firstly, I would like to say to you, I am going to try my best to stay on topic.
Oh, God.
Because otherwise, this will be a 6-part episode. The reason I'm going to try and stay on topic is because me and Rosie differ on how we should listen to podcasts. I like the jibber jabber. Rosie likes facts and only the facts. Thank you.
You like the yapping.
You'll be yapping. Okay.
I love to yap. It's just I feel like we yap a lot. And I think that's just us and that's fine. Like, I love to yap with you, but I don't know how much everyone else wants to listen to us yapping about, like, everything.
Oh, don't know what's wrong with them then. We're in spring, your favourite time, and it is the 20th of March 2002. So we were only seven little babies, and we have Rachel Cowles, Cowles.
I would have said
Cowles. She's 11 years old and she's walking home from school. Red car pulls up next to her and it's a man. And he says, "Oh, hi, I've moved in next door to you. Do you want a lift home?" And she's like, "No, that's weird. Why would I want a lift home?" So she gets home.
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger. Now, some sources say that the reason he freaked out and did the off is because a police car pulled up. But we know that he left and she went home and she was like, "I can't see his car parked." And I thought that was really clever for an 11-year-old.
Yeah, really clever.
And she was like, "Oh, yeah, his car's not here." So then the enormity of what's just happened hits her and she realises, oh, that was bad. And she goes to her mum and her mum reports it to the police.
I don't even think I would have put that together. You know?
No. She's looking around and she sees there's no red car here. And he said he lived next door to me and he doesn't. Now, the 21st of March, we have Amanda Jane Dowler, and she is 13 years old, but everyone calls her Millie, so I'm going to call her Millie. She's got light brown hair, middle parting, cut into a long bob. The photos you see of her are typical noughties fashion, mid-rise jeans, kind of flared at the end, tank tops, necklaces, that kind of thing. She's always dancing around, singing. And she's just a normal teenager. She's absolutely adored by her family, but she was the second born, so she had the feeling of she was hard done by, which I completely get. But
was it just the two kids?
Just the two girls. So she's got an older sister who's 16, who's Gemma, and she is 13. And happy child, lots of friends. She had struggled a bit at the start of secondary school. She had a bit of name calling with some of the other girls in her form, but she found her friends. I don't know about you, but I had this. I went to an all-girls school. I know you didn't in secondary school, but I had this at the beginning of year 7. Not picked on, but, you know, people...
Just trying to find, like, I don't know, where you fit, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like everyone's trying to...
Finding your feet, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like everyone's doing that and it comes out in different ways. But yeah, no, I totally get that.
Millie loves Pop Idol and Gareth Gates. Do you remember Gareth Gates?
Oh my God, do I?
He
What was it?
beat Will Young.
Spirit in the sky.
Yeah,
Da, da,
but
da,
he
da,
beat
da,
he beat
da.
Will Young, but then
Yeah.
actually was Will Young was way more famous after that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I missed those days. I used to go to my grandma's house and watch Blind Date, Stars in Their Eyes, Pop
Yeah,
Idol.
yeah.
That was
Top of the Pops.
that was prime television time.
Yeah, yeah, it really was.
So Millie's just a regular teenage girl. It's 25th, not even the 25th. It's the 21st of March. And Millie leaves her school, which is Heathside in Weybridge, which is in Surrey. The only kind of place that I could see that was nearby that I recognised was Thorpe Park. So I feel like it's not too far from Thorpe Park.
Yeah. That's like Staines, isn't it?
Yeah, we're not in Staines, but that was
But
the
it's like
only place on the map
close to-
nearby that
yeah.
I could find. I'm terrible
A
at
place of
geography, as
significance,
we established with my naughty elephant squirt water. So, Millie gets on the train with her friend to go home, and she does this every single day. Ah! I can't talk! Millie gets on the train with her friend home from school, like she does every single day. However, on this day, she decides she wants chips. So, fair enough.
I mean, that checks out.
Yeah, I want chips, to be honest. She gets off a stop early and goes to the station cafe with her friend Danielle. And she uses her friend's phone at 3:47 to call her dad and say, I'm leaving to come home. She has her own phone, so I don't know why she didn't use it, but she did have her own phone. Now,
But I mean, I guess in 2002 you're putting credit and stuff like that, so perhaps you just didn't have minutes.
Do you remember that you used to get free minutes after a certain point? Like T-Mobile, you'd get weekend and evening calls and you'd call back at that specific time. So I don't know, but I thought it was either that or the battery or whatever. 2002 was a great year for phones.
Oh my gosh, was it?
What was the number one phone in 2002? Give it a guess.
I'm going to say it has to be like a Nokia.
Yes, it was the Nokia Bricks, the best phone ever. They never broke. You could play Snake. You could swap batteries with your friends if your phone died. It was great.
Indestructible.
Yeah. Absolutely. So she's called her dad at 3:47 to say, right, I'm going to be heading home soon. And 18 minutes later, she leaves. Now, it's a 23-minute walk. So not too far. Kind of, if I'd walked home from school, what it would have been for me. She never makes it home. So the family obviously is devastated and terrified, and they are a super close-knit family. Like I said, they've got the older sister Gemma, who's 16 at the time, so 3 years older than Millie. They've got Sally Dowler, who is Millie's mum, and she is a maths teacher at Millie's school. And then they've got Robert, who is an IT consultant. So 2 jobs that I do not understand. Why anyone wants to teach maths.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Not for me. At secondary school level, definitely not.
You just don't have idiots like me being like, Miss, I don't get it. Miss, I don't get it. I don't understand. That'd be me. That was me. The following morning, really, really, really early, I'm guessing he couldn't sleep. Millie's uncle goes out looking for Millie, and he sees this big, fat, hideous man. We're not going to call him a man, this turd, walking his dog towards a bin shed at a block of flats in Collingwood Place, near where Millie was last seen. Now, he's a bit intimidated by this guy because the guy's walking really, really close to it, like towards him, and then all of a sudden walks away. And that's it. That's all we know about this person.
But he wasn't putting anything in the bins. He was just walking
towards the bin area. But you have to remember that. So the police conduct door-to-door inquiries. They speak to everyone from this block of flats. There's 52 residents. Other than one resident, like one door is not answered. They knock on the door, no one answers. The police go back to this door 11 times and nobody answers this door. So at this point, you've spoken to everybody in this block of flats right next to where Millie has gone missing to see what they've what they know, what they've seen. This was the middle of the afternoon, you know, let's say Millie left school 3:47, she called her dad 18 minutes later, so roughly 10 past 4, and she doesn't make it
sometime
home
between 4 and half 4,
right,
yeah.
so this is the middle of the day, broad daylight. So this one house is not answering 11 times. What do you do?
Yeah. I mean, I would look into who lives there and then do a search on it.
I've written there, right there. Find out who lives there. Speak to the landlord. Speak to the, you know, the maintenance people at the flats, whoever it might be. Speak to the neighbours and say, you know, who is it there? But they don't. They just leave it. They think, right, this person's not answered. Off we trot. Now, over the next weeks and months, this family does everything. They release home video to try and get Millie's face out there as much as possible. Crime Watch covers her last movements. Her photo is on the side of buses. And the police think she must have gone with someone she knows, because in the middle of the day, anyone would have seen a struggle.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that, because these things happen so fast. I don't think you can rule out a stranger. A 13-year-old girl is small and could easily have something happen in the space of a couple of seconds. But they aren't ruling anything out. They're just saying they think that's...
Yeah, but it's just more noticeable if somebody were to see, even if they just grabbed a young girl off the street. It could have been super quick, but it's just more likely that someone's going to remember seeing that. If there's a young girl who just gets into a car, it's less significant to someone, you know?
Absolutely, but I wonder if they also weren't thinking about the fact that a stranger could say something along the lines of, oh, I know your mum, or oh, your sister's been hit by a car down the road, get in quickly, they've sent me to... I don't know. I just think that there are a number of options where it could also be a stranger and it wouldn't be...
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
You know?
That's what they teach you at school, isn't it?
Exactly. So, Gemma, Millie's sister, on the 31st of March, she is far too sad to talk publicly about her sister's disappearance, which I understand.
So this is 10 days after her missing?
10 days after, yeah.
Okay.
So she writes a letter begging for people to come forward. You know, someone must have seen, someone knows something. That's always the line, isn't it? Someone knows something. And it says, please help me find my sister. 1 week ago, I was looking forward to the Easter holidays. Millie was going to come shopping with me to choose my prom dress, and we had planned a great big Easter party. Since then, my life has been turned upside down. Every day I wake up with the hope that Millie will return. The nights are the worst, and my imagination runs wild thinking about what has happened to her. If someone has taken Millie, please return her safely to us, as I am missing her very much and I couldn't wish for a lovelier sister. I cannot understand why anyone would take or want to harm Millie, but there must be somebody out there that knows what has happened to her. I love you, Millie. They are just struggling. You know, there is clear desperation and they don't know what's happened. There's no clue. She just has vanished. So the family continues to do absolutely everything that they can. And on the 23rd of April, a body is found only 2 miles from where Millie went missing. But the police managed to confirm that this is not Millie's body. This was in all of the articles, etc., etc., etc. And I just have to ask, do they tell the family that they found a body before it's been identified?
Yeah. Usually, yeah, I would say so, yeah.
That seems really unnecessarily traumatic.
I mean, I guess it depends, because they might need them to help identify. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the reason I'm saying that is because I'll tell you in a minute. But yeah, that's hopefully the only reason that they would tell them before it has been confirmed.
But then I guess you also wouldn't want them to see on the news that a body has been found and it hasn't been identified, and then they just be thinking, why haven't I been told? Could it be Millie? Could it blah 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 blah? So perhaps they've said,
maybe there's just no way to go about it. Maybe it's traumatic either way. Now the thing that they do next though is wild, because on the 22nd of June the police tell the family she's probably dead. I know. How can you say that to parents? And also, what are you trying to achieve by that? Do you want them to stop putting out these pleas or looking for her? Do you know what I mean? Already their brains are running wild thinking that there's a chance she's dead. And I understand that, you know, the further you get along. But what are you asking them to give up hope? because it's
Yeah,
never going to
that's
happen.
awful.
Parents are never going to
They're never
give up.
gonna give up hope.
No. The worry would then be, okay, there's a small chance she's alive, but if the police are thinking that way, the panic is then, oh my goodness, are you going to stop looking for her?
Stop looking, yeah.
Because
It's
she
so
might
true.
still be alive.
Yeah.
At this point, you don't know. So I just, to me, I don't know. I can't ever put myself in this situation. I'm just thinking there is no way that this is good. There's no way that you can get any kind of peace or anything. So I don't know. I know nothing. I'm officially an idiot. Over the next 3 months, the police find CCTV and they think they can see Millie in it. So they send it off to America for the FBI to examine.
But wait. So
Go
this
on.
is in June.
This is not. Yeah. This is much later.
Why have they only just found CCTV of Millie in June?
I'm not entirely sure, but when I looked at the CCTV, it's not obviously her. I don't know how to explain that. Like, it's not obviously her. It's not. So if she's got a 23-minute walk, they had to look at all of the like shop CCTV, station CCTV, everything that they could find along that walk in any period of time. So that is hours and hours and hours of CCTV to traipse through. If you've only got a couple of seconds of it happening, because I'm guessing you need to watch each angle at each different time. Do you know what I mean? You need to watch that for a whole... So it's a tricky one, isn't it? And then you've got to give it a window each side in case she was running late or whatever, or in case she didn't leave when she said she did, or anything like that. So they send it off to the US for the FBI to examine, which I don't understand. We spend so much money on nonsense in this country. Why can't we get good enough stuff for... Like, we have the CID, which is a similar thing to the to the FBI. I don't understand why it had to be sent off. But anyway, they believe that they can see Millie standing next to a dark-coloured saloon car. What's a saloon car, Rose?
That's like a long one, no?
It's a car. No,
it's not.
It's just a
car.
car.
It's the estate car is the long one. The saloon is,
it's 4 doors and a boot. It's a regular car. If you had to draw a car... If a toddler had to draw a car, this is what they'd draw. So it's not narrowing it down. It's kind of saying, can the owner of any dark saloon car come forwards? You've either got the murderer being like, nope, I'm not coming forwards, or you've got loads of people being, oh my God, I was driving down that road in my dark-coloured car. And dark-coloured what? That's any car that's not white. Could
be dark blue, dark grey, dark black, dark red.
Anyway, I've seen the CCTV. It's a red car. So I don't know what they were on about. It is a red car that they can see, and they think they can see Millie getting into the back of it. 20th of September 2002, exactly 6 months to the day that she goes missing. No, 1 day before, they find human remains. And on exactly 6 months, they determine that they are Millie's. Now, unfortunately, they are not able to determine a cause of death because too much time has passed. But this now means that this is officially now a murder investigation. This must be so bizarre for the family because you're kind of hoping you're going to find something.
Yeah.
Go on, what were you going to say?
Where were her remains found?
Hampshire. So I've got a picture of the kind of area.
But was it in like woods or in or like...
No, sorry. It was in there's trees, there's grass, there's... What's the word? A field. A field surrounded by trees. That is where her remains were found. Okay. You're obviously so sad, but equally there must be an element of relief because... this is done, but you don't want to feel relieved because now you found her. That hope is gone.
Yeah.
So, any way you look at it, it's horrendous.
Yeah. Oh. Did they determine how long ago she died?
No. So I will talk more about that with the court case because the pathologist explains how animals had moved a lot of the body parts, so it's quite a long time. It's months.
It's hard to know. Yeah.
And that meant that they also didn't know the cause of death, which was a bit of a problem because they can't now identify how she died. They go into a prison where they interview a serial rapist, and they say, no, he's super cooperative. He wasn't there. He gave us the exact kind of what he was doing on the day. I don't know how he can give that. He doesn't have his phone. He doesn't have like a desk calendar. How is he telling them exactly what he was doing on the day? But the police rule him out. He was not.
I can't even tell you what I was doing yesterday, let alone 9 months ago.
Honestly, I don't know whether it's because like these sick people get such a kick out of it. They remember. Do you know what I mean? But he's a nothing burger. He's an absolute nothing burger.
I love that.
Over the months, the police have 54 suspects, including her dad, including Millie's dad.
Oh.
I know.
But not including the man that didn't answer his door 11 times.
No, they don't know who that is.
Or the man by the bins.
No, they don't know who that is either. Rose, you expect far too much. Far too much. Or the man who tried to kidnap Rachel Cowell the day before.
Yeah. That was the day before, of course. Oh, of course not.
No, no, no.
In a red car.
In a red car.
Wow, it's all coming together now.
Anyway.
And that was reported as well.
It was
and
reported.
That was in the same area.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Stone's throw.
Damn, okay.
So, we leave Millie's murder investigation for the minute. And we go to the 4th of February 2003. We have a young woman called Marsha McDonnell. She's 19 at the time. She's just finished her A-levels. She's on her gap year. And she's planning on going to Australia. She's saving up. She's working in a gift shop before she goes off travelling. Marsha McDonnell, she gets off the 111 bus in Kingston upon Thames on Percy Road, and she is walking home. She's about 100 yards from home, and a neighbour hears a thump of someone falling to the floor and goes out to investigate. And Marsha was found in a pool of her own blood 100 yards from her house. There's no sign of sexual abuse. None of her stuff has been taken, and it seems that she's just been attacked out of the blue. Had no idea it was coming. Somebody has come up behind her and has hit her in the head with a blunt instrument, possibly a hammer.
Oh, that's awful.
Now, Marsha is rushed straight into hospital, but tragically she dies the next day from multiple skull fractures and from internal bleeding. The whole of the local area are in shock. This is a completely unprovoked attack on a young woman, no motive, and the police say that this attack looks quite deliberate. And I kind of looked into that a bit because I thought, well, obviously it's deliberate. You don't accidentally hit someone in the head with a hammer. But what they mean by that is that it's a very deliberate and focused attack. So this is
targeted attack.
Yeah, this is not wild. This is not someone going into a rage or someone being angry. This is a targeted attack. And it seemed to be that each blow was specifically aimed at her head. So this person knew what they were trying to do. Marsha, tragically, she's 19 and she has passed away. And her dad talks about all of the grief and the birthdays and Christmases that she's not going to get to do. And also, I just imagine you must have so many dreams for your child at this age. You've raised them. You're now sending them out into the wild on their own.
Yeah, they're really starting their life, aren't they?
And that's all gone. Someone's taken that away. And the police say they feel that this is such a difficult case to investigate because there is no motive whatsoever. So they just don't even know where to start.
But what I don't understand with a case like that is that there must be a man or a woman walking around with blood all over them and a hammer in their hand, you know, like, how do you just disappear into thin air?
I suppose it's
nobody notices.
Late at night, do you hide somewhere? Do you get out of a car? You know, there's so many different things. But equally, it could have been a robbery or sexually motivated, but they were interrupted by this neighbour coming out. Okay, 28th of May 2003. We're leaving Marcia McDonald for a minute. Her investigation is now underway. And we have an 18-year-old Kate Sheedy who just finished her A-levels. She's applying to go to York University. And she's walking near an industrial estate in Isleworth, about 45 minutes west of London. And a car purposefully drives into her. She has multiple injuries and was in hospital for several weeks. But she survived. So we have a witness. This is amazing. I mean, not only amazing that she survived, but also amazing because we now have a witness. And she describes the car as a people carrier with blacked out windows and a broken wing mirror. Both our mums had people carriers. Would you please do me the honour of describing what a people carrier is? What do I mean by a people carrier?
A nice people carrier. It's just a big old block of a car. Basically, it's got 6 or 7 seats in it. Usually a sliding door. One of those seats that folds forward so people can hop in the back. It's like, yeah, a good old block.
Yeah. Proper car
Basically
that you
like
have shove your kids
a
in.
minibus. Yeah.
Yeah. Smaller than a transit van, bigger than a car.
Yeah. Bigger than a saloon.
We now move on to the 19th of August 2004. And we have a... Go on.
I'm sure you're going to tell me, but are the police linking any of these together? Is that... Or any of these linked?
Give it a minute.
Right
Just give it a minute.
Okay.
Just give it a
Okay.
minute.
Okay.
Just give it a minute.
Sorry. I'm doing a you.
You're doing a me. You're far more polite and respectful about it. I'd be like, wait, hold on. What have the police said about this situation?
I mean, right now, in my head, I'm thinking there's not really much to connect them all because
I'm
one of
that
them was a
meme
red
with
car,
the
one
with
of
the
them was
red
a minibus.
string up on the thing, being like,
Yeah.
that's
But then, equally, I'm like, there's no way she would have been telling me this if they weren't connected.
They're not connected. They're
Look at your
completely
face.
random.
Look at your face.
I'm just telling
I
you
can
4
literally
stories.
tell when you're lying immediately.
I'm
You
telling
do
you
something with your mouth.
4
when you're
stories in one. I was so excited. I just researched 4 different stories. Anyway.
No wonder it took you so long.
On the 19th of August 2004, we have 22-year-old French student Amélie Delagrange.
So this is quite a long way after then. This is over a year
Yeah.
since the last one. Okay.
Now, she's French, but she's living in London and she's working in a patisserie in Richmond, in a little coffee pastry shop. She's a natural linguist, so she wanted to work in England, live in England, improve her English. She studied Spanish and English when she was at school, and her parents say that she was just a great student, wonderful kid, no issues whatsoever. And she had a boyfriend in the country as well. So on the day that this took place, she'd been out with some friends after work and she'd called her boyfriend and invited him over, but he was just too tired from work, and so she headed home. She was found on Twickenham Green with serious head injuries and she died in hospital that same day. Now the police are thinking, maybe this is linked to Marcia McDonald. So they haven't linked it to anything else, but this is really, really similar to Marcia McDonald. The way that they've been killed, they have a very similar kind of look, both young women, both blonde. Colin Sutton, he was tasked with leading the detectives to find out what's happened to Amélie, and he said that he thinks he needs to focus on her murder, not be looking at links between her murder and other murders, because he doesn't want it to be that he's trying to make it fit, and if he's wrong then he's going down a rabbit hole that's incorrect. So they start with CCTV. They know that Amélie had been found in the middle of Twickenham Green, and so they are looking at CCTV all around this area. The detective...
Have you been to Twickenham Green before? I don't think that I have. I was just wondering how big it is in terms of like compared to like Blackheath or Clapham Common.
I would have said it's probably a similar size to like Clapham Common.
Oh, quite huge then, really.
Yeah, maybe slightly smaller, but it's where they play cricket and stuff.
Yes, of course. Okay.
So
okay,
she's found just under the nets actually of for the cricket area. But not so far across. We're not talking about wilderness upon wilderness, you know, you'd
Yeah.
be able
A couple
to...
of football fields kind of
Yeah.
size. Yeah.
So the detectives view 2,000 hours of CCTV footage, yeah. And they start looking at CCTV footage from buses, because obviously buses, CCTV footage, they're moving all the time. And that's how Catherine Goodwin found Sarah Everard and Wayne Couzens. They saw the bus driving past, and Sarah Everard was standing there talking to Wayne Couzens. They are looking at this CCTV and they see a white van arriving at the green just before Amelie. It stays for 8 minutes and then it drives off. Okay, so they have a white van now in the mix. So
a white van, not a people carrier.
Not a people carrier and not a red car.
Okay. And wing mirrors are intact, it seems.
Wing mirrors are intact. So they eliminate 26,000 Ford Courier vans from their inquiry. They can't track down this one van.
One apartment.
But they think that whoever's driving this van is the one who's responsible. But
that's pretty impressive, though, really, to whittle it down to one van. No? Don't you think?
They haven't whittled it down to one van. They're saying that this van, they think whoever's driving this van is responsible, but they can't find who this van belongs to. But they eliminate 26,000 other vans.
Okay.
So they just think we need to find this white van, but they can't. And so they're feeling a little bit stuck. But then they get a phone call. And this is a tip. And a woman calls in and she says, my ex is the walking embodiment of wee spatter. You know, like when wee flicks around the toilet?
No,
he's like
we have
that.
Females when we don't. What?
I know, but trust me. Trust me, I've got enough brothers and whatnot. Anyway, and I think he did it. Now, the amount of times that women call in and being like, have you seen my ex? He's an arse. Go find him. I think he did this. So she says that. Now, this guy is a wheel clamper. That's his job. He owns a wheel clamping business. So his entire day is dedicated to ruining other people's days. Just saying. Yeah. And he owns a white van. He was also a bouncer in a club. So, our trip. Not all bouncers, but, you know, just him. And some of the ones in Zubar. But all of these annoyed exes are calling the police. She calls and she says, yeah, I think he did it. Now, when they start looking into this guy, it also turns out that he owns a Toyota Previa.
Which is a red saloon car?
No.
Which is a land people carrier?
Which is a people carrier. Very good. And it has blacked out windows. So, they do a lot of digging into him. And in November 2004, they find him hiding in his loft. And he is arrested. Yeah.
Why is he hiding in his loft?
Because he knew he was arrested.
Well, yeah, I know, but like that seems. If he wasn't suspicious before, then that's like that puts the cherry on the cake, doesn't it?
So in 2008, he is put on trial, and on the 25th of February, he's found guilty of the murder of Amelie and Marsha.
Excellent.
As well as the attempted murder of Kate Sheedy. Now, the court hears that they can see the CCTV of a silver Vauxhall Corsa following the bus that Marsha was on. The car had been financed by this crap turtle in November of 2002, and then he sold it on the 11th of Feb 2003. So, what's that, 3 months afterwards? After he's financed it, he gets rid of it. And that is only days after the attack on Marsha. And he then also books a holiday for him and his family to get out of the country.
Gross.
Yeah.
His family? Ew. He has a family? I hate that.
so this is the partner that I was talking about, and they have 2 kids. He actually has 11 kids by 5 different women.
Of
But
course he bloody does. Oh, so it
he,
wasn't even his ex, it was his current girlfriend.
well, by the time she called, he was the ex.
Oh,
By the time she called in 2004. So he's found guilty of all of these things, and he refuses to attend the court for the verdict. Do you know why he refuses to attend the court for his verdict?
Why?
Because he's really mad that he is the prime suspect in Millie Dowler's murder, and he's like, no, I may be a murderer, but I'm not that murderer. He's just really angry about it. He's like, you guys
he's
are accusing me of things.
Well.
Yeah, you guys are accusing me of things, and I don't like it, so I'm not coming to hear my sentence.
Oh my God. What a child.
And he throws a tantrum. So he's giving the court the silent treatment. But essentially what they believe happened was these are all young, beautiful women, you know, going about their day. And we have, well, I mean, when you see a photo, you'll understand this, and you'll see how people describe them as well, which is so funny. This disgusting, I mean...
Disgusting!
I'm running out of... no, I don't know.
Tell me you've seen that.
No, I don't know. What is it?
When some kid leaves a poo in the toilet and the mum comes and shouts at
her. Ew! That's gross. But I've already talked about skid marks, I've talked about wee splatter, I've talked about pit stains. I don't even know. He's just a
horrible
ketchup smear of a human being. He's just useless and pointless and disgusting and smells gross and congeals and ill. And he doesn't turn up. Yeah. Anyway, this frigging loser is called Levi Bellfield. He's now changed his name and claims he's converted to Islam, but I just don't care. We're not going to use his name much anyway, because what is the point? He doesn't actually deserve a name.
But he's still in prison.
Oh, yeah. Wait for it. Trust me, we're only about a quarter of the way through.
Oh, bloody hell. Okay.
So they believe that these beautiful women just going about their lives, you know, funny, quick-witted, intelligent women who do not want anything to do with this absolute turd monkey. He can't handle it because his teeny tiny baby fragile ego. He knows that he's vile, and so he can't handle it when he rolls down his window and he goes, all right, darling, and they don't go, oh, pop the boot of your car, I'm getting in. So he can't cope.
The boot of your car?
I don't know. He can't cope. And that's why they believe that he's doing this. Now, at this point, he is the #1 suspect in Millie's murder. He had been interviewed for Millie's murder in 2005, and I watched this interview, and it's infuriating. So there's a female officer interviewing him, and she's saying this stuff, and he, no comment, no comment, no comment. He's swinging back on his chair. He does not care. Then, when the male police officer starts interviewing him, he goes, no comment, sir. No comment, sir. No comment, sir. Yeah. He hates women so much. And the only reason he hates women is because he loves women and he can't get them, and it's sad. Do you know? He's clearly just an abusive, vile person. So many of the ex-girlfriends are found, and they say when they first met him, he was charming and he was lovely, like all abusers, blah, blah, blah. And then after a while, he becomes controlling and disgusting. He's not charged for another 4 years, 5 years, 2005. Yeah, like 5 years. And why, I don't know.
What, for Millie's death?
For Millie's death. So he's in prison now, but I don't know why he's not charged. And I wonder whether it's because they had more evidence against him for Amelie and Marsha and Kate, and they were trying to build a case against him for Millie's murder. The 5th of May 2011, he goes on trial for Millie's murder, and he denies it entirely. And these are the people that we are going to hear from at the trial. So the first person in my list, she may not have been the first person in the trial, but the first person in my list is the hero that is Rachel Cowles. Now, can you remember who she is?
Yes. She was like the most intelligent 11-year-old that ran home and was like, I don't see a red car here.
Yeah,
Older man.
absolutely. She's
Amazing.
21 when she's testifying, and she is so brave. But she's also savage, and we are so here for it. So she's the little girl who he attempted to kidnap the day before Millie, and she's traumatised and terrified. And this mustard stain of a human has pulled her... Sorry. Has pulled...
Ketchup smear and now mustard
I don't
stain,
want to swear, but I need to find things. Anyway, so he's the one who said he just moved in next door, and she felt the butterflies, and she was like, no freaking way. And this is how she describes him. White.
Mustard stain of a man.
Aged 30s to 40s, which means nothing, can I just say? 11-year-old. If you ask 11-year-olds, my 11-year-old students, how old I am, some of them will say 21 and some of them will say 49. It means nothing. It means nothing. I'm a grown-up, therefore I could be anywhere between 21 and 55.
No concept of age at all.
No
I mean, I don't
concept of
have
age.
any concept of age, and I am an adult. Ew.
Ew, we're not adults. That's such a gross idea. Don't say things like that. Anyway, but she's actually a smarty pants, so maybe she's more in tune with these things.
Sure.
And then she says, his head was rather chubby. She called him a fat head. He does have a really fat head, though. He does. We know that her mum's called the police, and obviously the police are going to take a statement. You know, the next day a girl goes missing. Obviously they're going to take a statement from Rachel. Guess when they took a statement from Rachel?
Oh, no, don't tell me it was like 10 years later when she was 21 on the stand.
3 years after. And that is only because her mum saw the appeal for information about Millie and the red car and thought it might be linked. Her mum did the police work, not the police.
For goodness sake.
So a call comes through. Excuse me. Beep, 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 beep. No, it's not that. Beep, beep, beep. A man... Beep, beep, beep. Brr, brr. Hi, what's your emergency? A man's just tried to arrest my daughter. He was in a red car and he's got a fat head. Okay, thank you, bye-bye. Next day a child goes missing and nobody thought, yesterday...
Oh, but there was a fat head in a red car.
Fat head in a red car tried to abduct a child. Maybe we should look into that. No, 3 years later. Later? 3 years later, they interview Rachel. Stupid. They also say, but 3 years later, she did fail to pick him up out of a lineup. So a man pulls over and says, excuse me, little girl, I'm a paedophile. Would you like to get in my car? And she goes, no, thank you. And gets out of there. Quick. I don't know what that was, but, you know, sharpish. Yeah. And then 3 years later, they show her a row of fat men. And she goes, I don't know which one it is. And they're blaming her. And they're like, oh, yeah, but you didn't manage to pick him out. Stupid.
Oh, my God.
Stupid. And she's a child. She's a child. Anyway, then, and this bit is horrific. And this is a huge part of the whole case. Millie's father came under scrutiny. And I understand this. I understand that when these things happen, they look at the men in the person's life, but they drag this poor man. Oh. And I just don't think that the defence should be allowed to do this, because all they're trying to do is redirect away from this, you know, person, this thing. This fathead loser's guilty, you know, they're trying to redirect the jury to look at someone else. But he's lost his child, he's lost his baby, and now they are ripping him apart publicly in this court. And these are the two reasons that they focus in on him. They found bondage porn magazine in his home with a video and equipment. Okay? Now, just let people crack on and do whatever they want. He's a grown-ass man.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that you're...
That does not mean you're a murderer. And also, I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, right? I mean, an unhealthy amount of true crime podcasts. Mm-hmm. And they talk about so much bondage and S&M and say that actually the fundamental things around bondage and S&M is that people are there because they enjoy it and it's consensual and it's safe. Bondage and S&M does not make somebody a pervert and it does not make them a murderer. But they rip into him, and it's like, no, you can't equate him being into whips and chains to have killed his daughter.
His own daughter, yeah.
And the other reason is because they found poems about Millie saying that she's shit and Millie saying that she wasn't happy. And I'm not trying to invalidate what she's saying at this time, because she was obviously hurting. But teenage girls, we are so dramatic.
I had a book of poems like that.
I literally wrote one down because I was like, this is my imaginary 13-year-old self-diary, right? Dear diary, they told me hated me again today. Not with words, but with actions. It is all I can do not to run crying and screaming from the house. I had told them that chocolate pudding was for after my peanut butter sandwich, but someone ate it anyway. What's more, there was no strawberry Nesquik left. They know I cannot eat peanut butter on toast without it. Why do they do this to me? Do they want me to starve? Is this their way of telling me I am fat? I knew it. I don't know how I can go on in such hostile conditions. One day they will see how their behaviour is sick.
This is about her family?
No, this is me! This is literally the stuff I used to come out with.
That was actually you?
No, I just made it up.
Oh.
This is not an exaggeration, Rose. These are the kinds of things I used to come... Like, I have the greatest parents alive. My dad used to do, 14-hour shifts in a hospital. And then I'd be like, he ate my cheese. He clearly has no respect for me.
Yes! Genuinely! Oh my God, I was the same. I was exactly the same. And, we would have an argument. I'd have an argument with one of my sisters, and my mum would, I was clearly in the wrong. My mum would tell me that I was the one in the wrong, and I'd be like, she hates me. Why does everybody hate me? And it's like, you're the bitch, you are the child that has made a fatal error here. But anyway, yeah, so, no, I was very dramatic, so I totally get that.
I get Millie was struggling. I get she was sad. But she was a normal 13-year-old, and now he's having to defend himself, and the mum is having to defend herself to be like, no, I know she said these things, but we weren't bad parents.
No.
We loved our child. But she was a dramatic 13-year-old. What do you want from us? And she claimed that her older sister was the favoured daughter. And I'm sorry, I still say this. I still, to this day, will say that I am the least favourite child, even though I know I'm not.
I mean, I was going to say you are.
But all jokes aside, these parents have lost their child and they are now on trial for their entire life because some defence lawyer is trying to move the guilt away from Levi Bellfield. And I also don't understand, right? Going into law, and I experienced this when I went into court, there was a young married guy who was the defence lawyer for my ex. Do you celebrate that? If you go home and win and use that money to pay for your kids' swimming lessons, are you sitting there thinking, well done me, I've managed to let this murderer of this child go for it. Well done me. How? I don't know. I mean, I love the Lincoln lawyer, so I am not a reliable source in this situation, but I don't get that. That makes no sense to me.
No,
I don't understand it. Anyway, they talk to her sister, and her sister says that she knows Millie never would have just run off. She knows that something bad has happened. And if she was going to run away, why would she have called her dad and said, hi, Dad, I'm on my way home?
Yeah, exactly.
So the sister says right from the beginning, she knew it didn't matter how much of a stroppy teenager she was, this child was not running away.
Yeah, for sure.
Then we have the ex's testimony. So this is Emma Mills, and she's the one who called in the tip. Oof! This is wild. So she testifies from behind a curtain. She is so fed up of looking at this man's face, and I do not blame her. But the information I'm going to give you is a combination of her testimony, the tip that she gave, and her interviews. Okay, so it's not all at the same time. Emma Mills had rented a ground floor 2-bedroom flat. However, the letting agent, her name was Carmen Lippold, she had been told there's an extra car here, annoying by the neighbours, so they've said, and also there's a dog here. So they think, right, well, Levi Bellfield must have also been living there, even though they'd separated before that, but he must have been because he had a dog and also there was this extra car. Emma owned a red car, and it was often borrowed by her sperm donor. On the day of her abduction, of Millie's abduction, the murderer's partner, Emma, and her 2 children, they were house-sitting for a friend. So he went off for the day, and he was out of phone contact for the whole day.
In her car.
In her car. But she's house-sitting, and he later turns up to the friend's house at about 10 or 11 p.m, and he's wearing different clothes than he was that morning, and he goes to bed. But between about 3 and 4 a.m, he wakes up and goes out with the dog. He's got a little staffy. Oh, bringing the poor dog down. He should not be allowed to have a cutie patootie pup.
No, definitely not. He doesn't deserve it.
So 3 or 4 a.m, he says he's going back to their flat so that he can have a lie-in. Interesting.
And that's when the uncle sees him walking towards the bins.
Later that day, he asks a friend to move a king-size mattress from his flat to get it out. And when his partner goes back to the flat on the 23rd of May, he has said, we've got to move. We've got to move. Even though there's 2 months left on the lease, we've got to move. No one's asking any questions. I'm not sure why. And he also blames the dog and says, the dog had an accident on all the bedding. That's why all the bedding's gone. But I've come to the conclusion that he must have been abusing her, because no one just doesn't ask questions if you say, we've got to up and move our 2 kids.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, especially when there's 2 months left on the lease, like that's
exactly.
So much stress. I would have just been like, no, let's just wait. What are you talking about?
And getting up in the middle of the night because I'm going to have a lie-in. No, you're going to stay here and wake up with your kids, for crying out loud. The sheets, the duvet cover, the pillowcases, they're all gone, and he blames it on the dog. And then he burns the bed and the double duvet. Now, it is a nightmare to get rid of a duvet. No, not a duvet, sorry, the bed. It's a nightmare. But you own a van. We know you own a van. You could have easily gotten rid of it. So, I don't know what's happening.
The dump.
But the other thing that confused me was, over this time, he's paid for how many different cars? He's chopping and changing leases on and rental agreements on flats.
So a couple of £1,000 of deposits, yeah.
You clamp cars for a living. How are you affording this?
Yeah.
I don't understand. And that comes back later, because he's still to this day spending a fortune on lawyers on appeals. So I don't really understand this. The letting agent tries to contact Emma and they can't get in. So on the 28th of May, they go in and there's loads of furniture, kids' toys left. So it looks like they left in a hurry. This wasn't planned. The landlord said, yep.
Is this the building that they interviewed? Is this the one that they knocked on the door 11 times?
Maybe. Yeah.
And the letting agent still didn't even think to tell the police that these people left in a hurry, even though there was a murder investigation going on. Okay, cool.
No, but equally, they had contact to Emma Mills, the landlord, the letting agent, because she called Emma Mills, and when they didn't get an answer, they went into the house. So you had access to the flat, you had the contact information of who was living there. They would have known that there was also somebody else living there because of the information they were given.
Imagine if the police had actually got into that apartment immediately.
All those 3 women, nothing would have happened.
That's actually wild. That's insane. All they had to do was have.
But he also, if they
so
found
much
out
evidence.
It was him, there was so many police reports about him prior. Like, he had been done for burglary, all these other things from the time he was a child. But also, when we get onto it, you will see how many things that people think he committed that he hasn't actually
Rachel
done.
Cowles would have been able to identify the fathead right then and there. Oh, for goodness sake.
The landlord is fuming. He's like, I had to spend £900 on that flat. And I was like, priorities. This is not the time. Yeah. The police are saying, excuse me, we think a child might have been murdered in your house. And he's like, well, this is how much the damages cost me. Typical landlord. But the big problem here is that they go in, they fix up the apartment. By the time the police get in there, there's been 2 other tenants. So if they'd gone in right at the beginning, there would have been that evidence. So Emma Mills has said, right, he was unreachable that day, and her spidey senses were kind of going. She said, like, otherwise, why would she have remembered this day? You know, you
Yeah.
only remember this day because there was alarm bells going off in your head.
But why didn't she say something sooner?
I don't know. I don't know whether she was abused by him as well.
Or maybe she just didn't have the evidence, and so she just thought it was all in her head. Like, at least that time, when she did actually give him in, he had the car and everything.
But if she didn't know about Millie, let's say, benefit of the doubt, she didn't know about Millie, and all these suspicious things happen, she thinks he's having an affair, which I understand. He's coming home late in different clothes, sneaking out at 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
A week later, she's not believing his lies. Something's not adding up. So she says, what were you doing? And he says, why do you keep going on? What, do you think I've done Millie?
Why would anyone in their right mind say that?
So even if we give her the benefit of the doubt and she didn't know, he's now linked himself to Millie. And so after that, why has she not said something?
Yeah.
Because 6 months, those parents had no idea what happened. And this is years later now. We're 10 years later. Okay, I need to get ready for this, but this is so funny. Okay. They interview Emma's mum, and she is hysterical. She says she hated him. She never liked him. He was a big lump with no neck and a squeaky voice, and she never saw what her daughter saw in him, and she doesn't get it. Tragically, when the pathologist is interviewed, we know he was not able to present a cause of death, but he was able to say that it was not natural causes. So I know that's annoying, but, you know, and that is so tough because the family's imagination can just run wild. Like, they have no idea what's happened to her. They don't know how much she suffered. And I'm not saying that there's a nice ending, but there is really, really horrific endings to a life. And you just don't want your brain going over and over and over that. Yeah. And by the time her remains had been found, like I said, some of it was incomplete because animals had, you know, taken them. And also she didn't have any clothes. So there are 11 jurors, 4 women and 7 men, and they retire to, you know, consider their verdict at 12:41 p.m. on Wednesday, the 22nd of June. A day later, at 2:30 p.m. on Thursday, the 23rd of June, they convict him of the kidnap and murder of Millie Dowler, and he was given a whole life order. The police and the press absolutely rip him. I don't know. I've never seen this before where they like go after someone's looks so much. They talk about his squeaky voice in court. He testified in his squeaky voice in court. That's what they say. I don't know why I did the squeaky voice. And they say he was overweight. They say he was a womanizer, but they don't know how he was a womanizer. They are awful. And they also go on to...
vile, wasn't he?
He was vile. They also say that he was very calculated, very controlling. They've contacted many of his exes who say the same. And his daughter, I think she's a hero for this, she talks out and she says that she's disgusted and sickened by what he's done. Millie was only a few years older than her, and she actually remembers him taking her to that flat at about 3 or 4 in the morning, and she was playing with the dog in the front room and he wouldn't let her go into the bedroom. And she thinks that at that time, Millie was in the flat. So, it's not over yet. It is awful. But, I mean, I think that's amazing because some people would change their name and not want to even be known as his child. And I think to come out and talk about it and to show that you don't condone what he did. I mean, equally, if you wanted to remain anonymous, that's, you know, your prerogative. You're fine to do that. But I think to do this just shows kind of a united front for the family, that people aren't condoning this behaviour. So there are a few issues that I mentioned with the police investigation, and in 2011 the police apologised to the family for making mistakes. They admit that they should have passed information on to Operation Ruby, which was the investigation into Millie, and they admit that they should have found out who lived at that flat.
Mm-hmm.
This investigation cost them £6 million.
Wow.
They did 3,500 house-to-house inquiries, searched over 350 sites, and took 5,600 statements. But if they had looked into the call the day before and the flat where no one answered, all of that would have been avoided. So I get that they did a big investigation, but it wasn't still, you know.
It just wasn't necessary, really, because all it would have taken is one person. I mean, I guess that's always the case, but yeah, I mean, hindsight is a wonderful thing.
Hindsight is a wonderful thing, but I think also it should be a case that we learn from that.
Yeah.
You know? In the 2 years before Millie's abduction, he had been...
Wait a minute, but also, the fact that you can tell us this story and we both say at the very beginning why, like, find out who lives in that flat. I don't know. Like, there's some basic investigation skills.
And the fact that you spoke to every single tenant.
Yeah, and that was the one tenant that didn't answer.
And I just think, what was the point?
Get a list of the names, you know? Like, you would, yeah, I don't know.
What was the point? Yeah. Why speak to all 52 who are willing to open the door to you, but the one who's not, I will just leave them.
And what are the chances that every single person in that apartment block has nothing to say, so then you just assume that that last person doesn't have anything to say?
Oh, anyway. Yes.
Okay,
anyway, there's more that's going to make you mad. In the 2 years before Millie's abduction, now, I want to just caveat this by saying...
2 years before?
In the 2 years prior to her abduction. The caveat is only one source mentioned this. Everything else I've corroborated with 6 or 7 sources. This I only found for one. So that's my little asterisk. He was reported to the police a total of 93 times for alleged indecent assault, obscene phone calls, and physical assaults. So this is somebody who should have already been on the radar.
Yeah.
We now move on to Millie's voicemails. Now, once upon a time, we did not have infinite storage in our phones. If you called somebody and left a voicemail and they did not delete it, after 5 or 6 of those voicemails, your message box would get full up. So her parents are calling and speaking, and I get this. I don't know if you've ever had somebody close to you die who had a voicemail, like a personal voicemail. I had this once, and there is something therapeutic. You feel like it's an outlet. It's the same as writing in a diary. It just gives you an element of communication that you don't otherwise have. And they're calling, and not that I want to put words into the parents' mouths, that might not be why they were doing it, but they are calling to try and in some way feel connected to Millie, but also leave her messages. And if she has run away, please come home. And if you have abducted Millie, then please give her back. They're just begging and pleading on these voicemails. And one day they call and they realise, oh, damn, her voicemails are full. However, when they call back another time, there's now room on the voicemails again. So the parents immediately think, oh my goodness, she's alive. She's alive and she's emptied or deleted voicemails. And they have this glimmer of hope. However, someone at the News of the World hired a PI who hacked into Millie's phone when she went missing so that they could listen to these parents' messages. And then when the voicemail box got full up, they deleted some so more could come through. Not only is this tragic and heartbreaking for the family, but the police also listen to voicemails, because a lot of the time the perpetrator will leave voicemails to kind of move attention off of them, you know? And so they wanted to listen to them. So it was also hindering the investigation.
There's also a massive invasion of privacy. And what the hell? That's not got to be illegal, surely.
Yeah. Okay, yes, massively illegal. So guess who makes an appearance in our story today? News of the World. Rupert Murdoch.
No way.
Rupert Murdoch meets with the family to apologise, and he is going to use adverts in the national newspapers to issue a personal apology. Apparently he requested the meeting as well. So, but then it comes out that Mark Lewis, who was the lawyer for the family, was also hacked. So this is one of the reasons that the paper actually closed down, and it announced it's closing down in 2011, because it had hacked into the phones of British service personnel who had been killed in action. So, yeah, it was really bad. Millie's family was awarded $2 million over this scandal, but $2 million from Rupert Murdoch with what you've done, no thanks. Yeah. It gets worse.
But I mean, for the family, that is a life-changing amount.
Yeah, of course. I want it to be that they just never have to worry about money again.
Yeah. Yeah.
The police then come out and say, yeah, we knew this was happening, but it wasn't our priority. We wanted to find Millie, so we didn't dig that deep into it.
What?
Someone had called the police from the papers and said things that they could not have known. No, they just said things that they could not have known unless they had hacked these voicemails. Nobody bothered to
look into it.
No. And at the end of 2011, there is something called the Leveson inquiry, which Millie's parents actually testify at. Now, what this is it's an inquiry. Inquiry?
I think either.
It's an inquiry into how the press can behave. So the press obviously played a huge role in all of this. They had also, I can't remember now. There was also a part where it was argued that they'd printed prejudicial information which biased the jury. So I think it was, I'll tell you about some other cases in a minute, that was the same as this. And it was believed that they were prejudiced, and they actually then meant that the jury couldn't come to an agreement on these other cases. Okay. There was another investigation, and it was revealed that an officer had leaked information to a friend of his. There was another investigation, and a police officer was sent to prison for 18 months for leaking information to the newspaper The Sun.
Wow.
And then this absolute pickle juice.
I like pickles. That's not good enough.
Do you like the juice?
I would drink.
Well, you wouldn't. Ew!
Shot of pickle juice.
Ew.
Okay, it's just like a pickle. It's not that bad.
Okay. This absolute mouldy fridge juice.
Yeah, good.
Was attacked in prison because he wasn't in the suitable wing, i.e. the wing for vulnerable prisoners, because if you're in the normal wing, you're going to be attacked if you're a child murderer and rapist.
Ah, so this is the fathead.
This is the fathead. He's attacked in prison because he's not in a suitable wing, because usually the prison would put him in the vulnerable prisoners wing. And in 2009 or 10, can't remember, he was attacked. And in 2014, he is given compensation for this. I know. He's given £4,500 compensation because he was attacked in prison.
Fuck off. Sorry.
He still has denied absolutely everything. But now we get to 2016 and he says, yeah, I'll talk, but only to female police officers.
Ew.
You disgusting human being. And he admits to what he did, saying that, yes, he was responsible for Millie. But he also mentioned having an accomplice. The family says that the year before, in 2015, this bird poo had told them what he had done to Millie. Let me make it make sense. The bird poo is interviewed, okay? And he admits what he did to Millie.
Can we just refer to him as Fathead? Because all of these different nicknames, I'm just don't.
Okay, the fathead is interviewed. Okay. And he's admitted what he's done to Millie. And he also says, I had an accomplice. Now, the police want to investigate this accomplice. So they don't want everyone to know yet that he was interviewed and admitted to it and admitted to having an accomplice in case the accomplice runs for the hills or whatever, right? However, they have to tell Millie's family because Fathead's cellmate was being released and Fathead had told his cellmate what he had done. So for 8 months, I think it is, 8 months, the family knows what's happened to their family, to Millie. They then find out that this person was interviewed, the so-called accomplice. 8 months it took them, that the family had to stay silent, interviewed. Within 10 hours, he was released because there was no evidence. Why did they waste all that time with the family knowing, saying, oh, we've got to, don't tell anyone, da 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 da. So then the family comes out and issues a statement and says, we've known for the last 8 months what he did to our daughter, and we haven't been allowed to say anything because they were investigating it, and now nothing's come of it. But it is at this point that we find out what Fathead says he did to Millie, and this is really, really difficult, so I apologise. He admits to abducting her in the red car, which we know about. He then takes her to his flat and assaults her, but she's still alive. He then drives her to his mum's house, where he rapes her again. And there are even some sources that say he did this on top of the car in broad daylight, like on the bonnet of the car. He then takes her to another location where he continues to rape and torture her until he strangles her the following day. So this baby suffered for hours at the hands of this disgusting human being. God. And the family issued a statement saying this because they know what has happened. In February 2021, Bellfield appeals his convictions, but thankfully he is absolutely denied. And there is a huge cry for change to the justice system. And I can see both sides with this one. So the family is very much saying they shouldn't have been treated this way. And they shouldn't have, you know. They were treated appallingly. This family was ripped apart on the stand. And it's cruel. Just for the defence lawyers to find reasonable doubt in the prosecution's arguments. They are humiliated and their life is put on trial. But the reason I feel that way is because he is a disgusting, disgusting human being, and what he did was awful. However, like for him, I'd have hangings and the death penalty, do you know? Even though I don't agree with those things, that's how you feel about it. Yeah. But if it was someone innocent, you have to see that the defence has to have the opportunity to bring in other plausible scenarios, right? You can't just have it that they only present one scenario. So you would want the defence to be thorough with how they're questioning. But then,
because the whole point is reasonable doubt, isn't it? And if they have reasonable doubt that it could have been somebody else, then, yeah.
But I don't think in this situation they had reasonable doubt that it was the dad. Based on what they were saying, that did not provide reasonable doubt.
No, definitely not.
So, I mean, I definitely see that things need to be changed. They should not have been treated in this way, and that really overshadowed their ability to grieve and process because of what they had to go through. The police failed them in the investigation, the justice system failed them in the courts, the press let them down when they were reporting.
Yeah.
Sally Dowler, she talks about this and she says that for us, the trial has been an awful experience. We have felt that our family, who have already suffered so much, has been on trial as much as Bellfield. We have had to hear Millie's name defamed in court. She has been portrayed as an unhappy, depressed young girl. Ordinary details that any mother would recognise have been magnified into major problems. To actually see that man in court, a man capable of such vile and inhumane crime, has been grotesque and distressing for us. The length the system goes to protect his human rights seems so unfair compared to what we as a family have had to endure. I hope whilst he is in prison he is treated with the same brutality he dealt out to his victims, and that his life is a living hell. And I get it. I get it, sure. But you know, it's such a difficult one. I'm not the Prime Minister. I'm not paid to deal with these issues, but they are issues and they need to be sorted. Now, these aren't the only crimes that he is believed to have committed, or, So there is a man, Michael Stone, who is in prison and is serving 3 life sentences with a minimum of 25 years. And his lawyer claims that the description given by the survivor, so it was a mum and 2 daughters, and one of the daughters survived, that description far better fits Bellfield.
Really?
Yeah. There is believed to be 6 men that he was linked to that are part of a grooming gang. And these are the next 2 that I'm going to tell you, I think these are the ones that couldn't be prosecuted because they essentially declared him guilty for Marsha, Amelie and Kate. Then it was put out in the press and then they couldn't prosecute for this one because the jury could have seen prejudicial information.
Sure.
In 2001, a 17-year-old named Anna Maria Rennie was grabbed from a bus stop after having an argument with her boyfriend, and he attempted to force her into a car. She identified Bellfield, but the jury did not reach a verdict. She's since moved back to Spain and talked about how this is absolutely traumatic for her. And he has also been called the bus stop killer because of all of these things. Like, a lot of these things are happening in bus stops. Then we have Irma Dragoshi, who's 33. Again, she's standing at a bus stop. She was a hairdresser, I believe, and she was just on her way home. And she wakes up with 0 recollection of how she got to hospital. She's in hospital. She doesn't remember how she got there. But there is testimony from somebody who it sounds like he was in the car with him. His name is Sunil Garu, and they say that he worked with him. And he told police that Bellfield suddenly pulled over, said, "Watch this," spun her around, smashed her into the ground, ran away laughing, got back in the car, drove off. And Bellfield said, "Yes, I was there, but it wasn't me who did it. It was Garu who did it." But Sunil Garu is also one of the men who's been named as being part of the paedophile ring.
Oh, for goodness sake.
So they are all just in this, He's also been linked to and confessed to a number of other murders, but I'm not going to name them because it is believed that he is only doing this to cause distress to the families of these victims. There is also a murder of one of his schoolmates. I didn't write this down, but when they were about 13 or 14 that they believe he committed, because he was committing burglaries, he assaulted a police officer, he was nearly there, I promise.
Oh my God.
Now, while he's in prison, he met someone. They've been writing pen pal letters.
Ew.
They love each other, and he applied to get married, and the prison said
Ew.
no.
Okay,
Yeah, the prison said no. However, his lawyers, how is he paying for all of these lawyers? I don't understand. His lawyers say you can't do that. That's against his human rights, because it is a human right that somebody has the right to get married. But he's never thought about anyone's human rights in his life. So why are we now worried?
Do you still have human rights when you're in prison like that?
Technically, yes, because otherwise things like torture and stuff would be allowed. But they have since changed the law to say that people who have whole life orders cannot get
married. Good. It's such a small win, but I don't know why that's so satisfying.
Because Millie will never get married. Millie and I mean, Kate is still traumatized, but Millie, Amelie, Marsha, all these women who will never get married, who will never have children, who will never have amazing careers, who will never, all of these things. I mean, Kate, even though she survived, she still had to go through huge amounts of physiotherapy.
She's still living with this every single day.
She's still living with this every day. She couldn't sit her A-levels because of this. They had to award her mock grades, which is, it's fine, but it's still a huge part of your life that you're missing out on. Yeah. That meant that she couldn't get into the university that she wanted for the year that she wanted and had to have it deferred. Like, choosing to not sit your A-levels or deferring is one thing, but having that choice taken away from you by some absolute vile human being is not okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to, as always, end on a little bit of the victim impact statements. Now, I should say that I focused mainly on Millie's case here, and that is because there is a lot more information on Millie's case available. The reason being is that it was huge, but also we had 6 months of looking for her, as opposed to the other 3 women, the 2 that were killed and the one who was Kate attempted murder, because immediately they were found, there wasn't this long, prolonged period. So it's not that I care more about Millie being the younger one or anything like that. It was just to do with how much information was available. So this was from Millie's mum, Sally Dowler's victim statement, and I'm just choosing some little bits because a lot of it focused on the impact that the court case had on them, which I understand. The Millie we knew was a happy, vivacious, fun-loving girl. For a mother to bury her child in any circumstances is truly agonising, but to bury your child when you know she died in such an appalling way is unutterably awful. The pain and grief, the damage he has done to our family and friends will never go away. We have just had to learn to live alongside it. A day does not pass when we do not think of her and the life she might have had. I'm not going to cry.
You okay?
Cried a lot last week. From Bob Dowler, who is her father, Robert Dowler. We are pleased that a guilty verdict has been delivered by the jury and that Levi Bellfield has been convicted of the murder of our daughter. However, we do not see this as true justice for Millie, merely a criminal conviction. My family has had to pay too high a price for this conviction. The pain and agony that we have endured as a family since the 21st of March 2002 has been compounded by the devastating effects of this trial. Saturday the 25th of June would have been Millie's 23rd birthday, and as always we will remember the happy, fun-loving and talented girl that she was, but who was never allowed to fulfil her potential. This is a gap in our lives that can never be filled. I did manage to find the impact statement for Marsha McDonald, and I just want to read that bit as well because I don't want them to get lost in all of this. Marsha was a generous, loving, thoughtful girl. Her goodness, her sense of fun, her spirit and her zest of life is as fresh in our minds today as it was then. Since the night 5 years ago when she was cruelly and unexpectedly taken away from this world, they as a family have had to endure a suffering that can only truly be known to those that have been through it. Losing a child in any circumstances is always an extremely hard loss to bear. To lose a child to such a barbaric act of violence that has no reason or explanation just compounds that grief further. Now, this bit, he talks about, so this is Marsha's uncle talking, and I just want to talk about this because he's talking about parole. As the years go on, we will hopefully tolerate it better, but it will always be with us. Marsha's murder was an act of pure evil, an innocent girl attacked from behind with no motive, no reason and no justification. If our children ever have to face the fact that the man who impacted their lives in such a way is allowed to walk free in the world, then that is a day when they would have to question whose life is more important in the eyes of the law, the victims or the perpetrator, the murdered or the murderer. Now, I believe this is because when Marsha's trial happened, he wasn't given the life order. He was only given the life order when he was convicted of Millie's as well.
Yeah.
So they had to run the risk that he would be coming out on parole after he killed Emily Marsha.
But he's not eligible for parole anymore. Thank gosh.
Never, ever, ever. Never, ever, ever. He's going to die in prison, and that's where he should die. I'm done.
That actually wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. That was good. 100 minutes, easy.
But you can see there was just so much. And I kept thinking like, oh, I'll cut this bit out. And then I realised that without that, you wouldn't.
It's all needed, yeah.
It's all needed. And if you just put the facts across, then you're not getting kind of who they were as people. And if you're just doing the emotional stuff, then you're not getting the actual crime. And
I think
each of these women deserved a story. They deserve a whole episode to themselves. And he just... I mean, also, what kind of woman are you to be marrying this man in prison? I'm sorry. I know we listen and we do judge, but I listen and I'm judging.
Yeah,
I am judging you. No, if you can marry someone or claim to love someone who has hurt innocent people and a baby. She was 13 years old.
Yeah. She was just a baby.
You are sick. Okay, guys, before we get started, I just want to let you know that this story is a really rough one. It involves murder, sexual abuse, kidnap, and just people being horrible to women and girls. So buckle up. only listen if you're feeling strong enough, and think really carefully about whether or not you listen with children. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please go and follow us on everything. We are 26 to life _pod on TikTok and Instagram. Rosie makes really funny reels. I don't know if you know this, but she makes really funny reels. She makes us look so good. Not visually, we still don't look good, but we sound funny. And if you want to listen to us on YouTube or Spotify, we are 26 to life pod. Please share it with everyone. We are just a pair of idiots who need as much help as we can get, and we love you so much for every comment, every little share. It means the world.
It all does. Oh, thank you.
That's okay. I'm going to go away and also write a list of all the names that I can call people, because I feel like I'm struggling to come up with new ones on the spot.
Yeah. Mustard stain was like the peak for me. I was done after that.
I love you.
I love you too. I'll see you in a little bit.
See you in a bit. Bye.